Okay, so you know how everyone's talking about spirituality these days.
Right.
It's like this big buzzword.
Yeah.
And there's like a zillion different takes on it, which could be kind of overwhelming.
It can be.
But the source we're diving into today, this what is being spiritual and the path thing, it kind of cuts through all that noise, you know?
Absolutely.
It gets right to the heart of what it means to actually live a spiritual life, which I'm really excited to dig into.
Yeah, me too.
But before we get carried away, let's start with the foundation, shall we?
Okay.
What does it even mean to like be spiritual?
Well, the source jumps right in saying it's not about like labeling yourself, you know.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It's not about saying I am spiritual. It's about the doing, the action,
I feel that.
living it out.
Yeah.
And a key part of that, they say, is loving oneself.
Loving oneself. Okay. Now, see, that's a phrase that I think can be easily misinterpreted.
For sure.
Because some people might hear that and think, oh, that sounds kind of self-centered, doesn't it?
Right.
Like, me. But the source makes a really important distinction between self-love and selfishness.
Yeah.
And they even go so far as to call them opposites. So help me understand this. What's the difference there?
Well, they talk about self-love as this process of cultivating inner peace, like a deep sense of fullness within yourself. And from that place, that's where you can be generous and compassionate to others.
Oh, interesting.
It's about recognizing your own inherent worth, right? So you can show up authentically in the world and actually contribute to something bigger than just yourself.
So it's not about like indulging every win you have or
Yeah.
thinking you're better than everyone else.
Exactly.
It's more about like nurturing yourself so you can then, you know, nurture others and show up for them in a more genuine way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where this whole heart-mind connection comes in, which the source talks about a lot.
Okay. Yeah. I was curious about that.
Because it's not enough to just like think positive thoughts, or you got to actually cultivate the feelings behind those thoughts. Like
No.
they specifically talk about strengthening the heart's qualities.
Okay. Like what? Give me some examples.
Compassion, harmony,
Yeah.
generosity, things like that.
So it's like almost like training your heart like you would a muscle.
In a way, yeah. It's about developing those qualities.
And I think this circles back to that idea of self-love not being selfish.
Yeah.
Because if you're coming from a place of peace and you feel whole and complete within yourself, it's got to be easier to then be compassionate and generous towards others, don't you think?
Absolutely. And this isn't just some like woo-woo philosophy.
Right.
The source presents this as a fundamental part of spiritual growth, this connection.
So it's not enough to just like understand these concepts in your head.
Right.
You have to actually live them,
Exactly. Embody them.
which I'm not going to lie, sounds a lot harder than just reading about it in a book.
It can be, yeah.
Because it's one thing to, you know, read about compassion, but it's a whole other thing to actually be compassionate when you're dealing with someone who's being difficult or, you know, in a situation that's just frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where the source's emphasis on learning while doing really clicked for me.
Okay.
It reminds me of karma yoga, you know?
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
It's this idea of like taking action without being attached to the outcome.
So it's not about achieving some big spiritual goal.
No.
It's more about just like showing up
Exactly.
with integrity
With compassion.
in every moment.
Exactly. It's about the journey, not just the destination. Yeah.
So every interaction you have, every choice you make
Every single one.
becomes a chance to put this into practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like choosing to be patient when you really want to scream into a pillow.
Yes.
Or offering to help someone, even when you are already feeling like stretched thin yourself.
Exactly.
Those are kind of tough though.
They can be.
I mean, what if you're not always successful?
Right.
Like what if you mess up?
Well, actually, the source talks about this, and this is where it gets really interesting to me.
Okay, lay it on me.
They bring up this idea of, and this might sound a little out there, but invisible gurus, guardian angels.
Okay, yeah. Guardian angels. Now you have my attention.
Yeah, it's like they're these subtle forces guiding us even when we don't realize it.
Even if you're not like fully on board with the whole angel thing, it still speaks to that human desire for support. You know?
Absolutely. We all want to feel like we're not alone in this journey.
Totally. But hold on, if we have these guides looking out for us, why do we even need like teachers or mentors in the real world?
That's actually something the source addresses directly. Yeah, they suggest that realized teachers, you know, the ones who are actually legit,
Right.
they only take on students when they're guided to do so by their own like spiritual intuition.
Whoa. So it's not that they're like hoarding their wisdom or anything.
No, not at all. It's more like they're operating within this bigger spiritual framework.
Okay, so like a divine appointment book or something.
Exactly. And this ties into the importance of discernment, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The source really emphasizes that a true teacher will never lead you astray or like intentionally confuse you.
Because there's definitely a lot of that out there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it's about trusting your gut feeling.
Your intuition.
Right, and finding those teachings that really resonate on a deep level.
Exactly. If it feels right, it probably is. But getting back to those tests for a moment, the source talks about how self-love is essential, but it also makes a big deal about distinguishing it from selfishness, which it calls the opposite. Why is that so important, you think?
Yeah, that's a good point, because those two can seem really similar on the surface.
Exactly. And the source suggests that selfishness is actually a symptom of something deeper, a scarcity mindset.
Oh, interesting.
That's the idea that there's not enough to go around.
Not enough love, not enough money, not enough success.
Exactly. And it keeps us trapped in this cycle of fear and competition.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
It's like we're constantly trying to hoard what we have, afraid to let go or share.
Right, because if we do that, then we might not have enough for ourselves.
Exactly. And the source suggests that this scarcity mindset doesn't just affect our relationship with like material possessions.
It can seep into every area of our lives, right?
Absolutely. Our relationships, our careers, even our spirituality itself.
Yeah, that makes sense. If we're always coming from a place of lack, it's going to be tough to connect with that sense of abundance that's so central to like every spiritual tradition, really.
Precisely. And that's where cultivating those heart qualities we talked about, compassion, generosity, gratitude, becomes so essential.
It's like we're retraining our minds and hearts to see the world through a different lens.
Exactly. Instead of focusing on what we lack, we start to appreciate what we have and approach life with an open hand, ready to both give and receive.
It's like that saying, the more you give, the more you receive.
Exactly. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And the more we focus on those good vibes, those positive qualities within ourselves, the more we start to see them reflected back to us from other people.
It's like we're shifting our whole vibration.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about how challenges can be like these opportunities for growth, these tests.
Right.
But the source also talks about this difference between self-love, which it says is super important, and selfishness, which it says is like the opposite. So why is that distinction so important in this whole journey of spiritual growth?
Well, the source seems to suggest that selfishness is kind of like a red flag.
Okay.
Like a warning sign that we might be stuck in this scarcity mindset.
Right, that fear of not having enough.
Exactly. And that can really hold us back on our spiritual path.
Because if we're so busy clinging to what we have, we miss out on the opportunity to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. It's like we're closing ourselves off to the flow of abundance that's always available to us.
So how do we break free from that scarcity mindset? What does the source say about that?
It all comes back to those heart qualities we keep talking about. Compassion, generosity, gratitude.
So it's not just about like thinking positive thoughts.
No, it's about embodying those qualities in our everyday lives. It's about making choices that align with those values, even when it's hard.
So like choosing to forgive someone even though they hurt us, or giving to others even when we don't have much ourselves.
Exactly. Those are the real tests, you know, the moments where we have a choice to act from a place of fear or from a place of love.
And those choices, they have a ripple effect, don't they? Like they shape not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us.
Absolutely. And the more we choose love, the more we attract love into our experience. It's like this beautiful feedback loop.
I love that. And you know what? It reminds me of that quote from the source.
Which one?
When you truly realize the qualities of the heart is the gateway, you are enlightened. It's like that's what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that true enlightenment isn't some distant goal.
It's about how we show up in each moment.
Exactly. It's about the quality of our presence, the love we bring to our interactions, the compassion we extend to ourselves and others. That's where the real magic happens.
That's such a powerful reminder. And you know, I think that's a great place to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, but ultimately this is just the beginning, right?
Absolutely. The real journey unfolds as you take these insights and weave them into the tapestry of your own unique life.
So to our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this exploration of what is being spiritual and the path. Remember, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
And most importantly, keep following your heart.
Until next time.